For 15 years, I gave my husband my devotion. His revenge was to build a second life on a mountain of debt and lies. He thought the truth would break me. He was wrong. My revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was cold, calculated, and it took apart his world while I simply walked away. For 15 years, our life looked like it was torn from a magazine. We had the sprawling house, the perfect lawn, two bright kids, and a golden retriever that tied it all together. We were that family, the one people envied. And honestly, I believed it too. I'd given up a promising career in finance to build that life to manage our home, our kids, and most importantly, my husband, Mark. Mark was the kind of charismatic guy who owned every room he walked into. He was a partner at a consulting firm, which meant long hours and lots of travel. I never questioned it. I was proud of him. I thought his ambition was for us. I managed the household finances, or so I thought. He kept his business accounts separate, telling me they were too complex and boring for me to deal with. Every month, a generous allowance would appear in our joint account, and I'd make the magic happen. The mortgage got paid, the organic groceries were bought, private school tuition was covered. I was the COO of our family, and I ran a tight ship. The first crack in the illusion was tiny. A letter from a credit card company ID never heard of, addressed to Mark. It was a final notice. I remember my heart did this weird little flip. Junk mail, I told myself. A mistake. I left it on his desk, but when I mentioned it later, he just laughed. Aggressive marketing, he said, tearing it up without a glance. They'll do anything for you to sign up. He kissed my forehead. And just like that, the worry was gone. How could I be so silly? Mark was my rock. He was responsible. But then more little things started to happen. He'd angle his phone away from me when he was texting. He started taking calls behind his closed office door. The answer was always the same. Just work. The business trips got more frequent, more last minute. A conference I'd never heard of, a networking weekend that popped up from nowhere. The distance between us wasn't just physical anymore, it was emotional. He was there, but he was hollow. His eyes looked right through me. I started feeling this constant, humming anxiety. I wasn't sleeping. The headaches were endless. I tried talking to him, telling him I felt disconnected, that I missed him. He'd put on this practiced face of concern. I'm just stressed, honey. It's a lot of pressure at work. And then he'd flip it on me. The classic move I wouldn't have a name for until much later. Gaslighting. Maybe you're just lonely now that the kids are older. You should get a hobby, he'd suggest, twisting my needs into a personal flaw. He made me feel like I was the problem. My anxiety was the issue. My neediness was the strain on our marriage. He'd even weaponize my role as a stay-at-home mom. You don't understand the pressure I'm under to provide all this for you, he'd say, gesturing at the beautiful prison he'd built around me. And like a fool, I'd apologize. I'd promise to be stronger, less demanding. I'd absorb his coldness and blame myself. The real truth didn't come out in one big dramatic reveal. It was a slow, sickening unraveling. It started with another piece of mail he didn't grab in time. A statement for a home equity line of credit on our house for $250,000 earned. A line of credit I knew nothing about. The paper shook in my hands. The blood just drained from my face. I saw the date 6 months old. I scanned the list of withdrawals, cash advances, huge payments to accounts I didn't recognize, transfers that made 0 sense. That night, I didn't sleep. but the dread was mixed with a strange new clarity. For the first time, I knew I wouldn't believe whatever story he came up with. The next morning, after he left for another work trip, I started digging. His home office, a place ID always respected as his private space, was now a crime scene. In the back of his filing cabinet, behind years of old tax returns, I found it, a folder, and in it, his other life. There were statements for credit cards I'd never seen, with tens of thousands in debt. There were hotel receipts from cities he was never supposed to be in, restaurant bills for two, and receipts from jewelry stores. There was a loan application for a luxury car. And at the very bottom of the pile, a deed. A deed to a condo downtown, bought 2 years ago. In his name only. I just sank to the floor. This wasn't just an affair. It was a complete parallel existence built with our family's equity, our future. The man ID spent 15 years loving was a stranger, a fraud. Every I love you, every shared smile, it all curdled into a grotesque lie. He hadn't just cheated on me. He had systematically defrauded his own family. And the most chilling part? He did it all while looking me right in the eye and convincing me I was the one who was crazy. The world kept spinning. The kids needed to get to soccer practice. The dog needed to be fed. But inside, my world had turned to ash. I went through the motions like a ghost, my mind replaying every lie, every tainted memory. Our 10th anniversary trip? I now saw the secret credit card charges from a jeweler that weren't for me. Those boys' weekend golf trips? The dates matched hotel receipts from a completely different city. It was a soul-crushing audit of my own life. When he came home a few days later, he had gifts for the kids and a tired smile for me. He leaned in to kiss me, and I turned my head. He frowned. "Everything okay?" The old me would have exploded. I would have screamed, cried, thrown the papers in his face, and demanded answers. I would have given him the drama he craved. A narcissist feeds on your reaction. Your tears and anger are their supply, proof of their power. But that woman died on the floor of his office. The new me just looked at him, my face a complete blank. "I'm tired," I said, my voice flat. "Long week." For the next 2 weeks, I became a master of the gray rock method, without even knowing it had a name. I made myself as boring and unresponsive as a stone. I was polite but distant. I did my duties, but I offered him nothing. No adoration, no anger, just nothing. And it drove him absolutely insane. He couldn't stand it. He tried to pick fights about the house being messy. I'd just nod and say, "I'll get to it." He brought me flowers, suggesting a date night. I thanked him politely and said I wasn't feeling well. His confusion turned to frustration and then to rage. He was losing control. And a narcissist without control is a king without a kingdom. During that time, I was busy. The finance career I'd shelved for him came roaring back to life. I wasn't a wife anymore. I was a forensic accountant performing an audit on my own life. I photocopied every statement, every deed, every receipt. I built spreadsheets tracking the money from our home equity line to his secret accounts. I documented everything. Then I hired the best divorce attorney in the city. Not a bulldog, but a shark, a woman known for her calm demeanor and ruthless precision. I walked into her office with my binder of evidence, my spreadsheets, and laid it all out. I didn't cry. I just presented the facts. She listened, her face unreadable. When I finished, she looked at the spreadsheet tracing over $500,000 in secret debt. She finally looked up at me, a flicker of respect in her eyes. Most people come in with just their pain, she said. You've come in with a rock solid case. He didn't just have an affair, he committed financial fraud against you. For him, this is a legal catastrophe. That S when the plan clicked into place. My revenge wouldn't be emotional. It wouldn't be about exposing him to our friends or keying his secret car. That would just give him the attention he craved. No, my revenge would be silent, legal, and absolute. I was simply going to step out of the way and let him be crushed by the consequences of his own actions. He had no idea what was coming. He was still trying to get a rise out of me, accusing me of having an affair because I'd grown so distant. It was textbook narcissistic projection. I just looked at him with the calm indifference of a stranger and asked, "Is that what you think?" He thought his betrayal was his revenge for some imaginary crime. He thought finding out would shatter me. He couldn't have been more wrong. He hadn't broken me. He had unleashed me. He reminded me who I was before him, a smart, capable woman who was very, very good with numbers. And I was about to give him a master class in accounting. The divorce papers were served on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday. There was no confrontation. I just let the law do its work. A process server handed him the envelope as he was walking into his office. My lawyer told me he called her office minutes later screaming. He was furious. How dare I go behind his back? The irony was so thick you could choke on it. He came home that night like a storm cloud, slamming the door and throwing the papers on the kitchen island. What is this? After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? I didn't take the bait. I just looked at him and said, "Speak to my lawyer." Those 4 words became my shield and my weapon. He raged, he threatened, he begged, he cried crocodile tears. He promised he'd change. It was like watching an actor run through his entire playbook to an empty theater. Every emotional appeal was met with the same answer: "Speak to my lawyer." The legal process was the engine of my revenge. The asset freezing injunction hit him like a punch to the gut. His secret credit cards were declined. His access to the hidden condo was blocked. The power dynamic shifted completely. He had lost his 2 primary weapons, his money and his ability to manipulate me. In the depositions, his world unraveled. My lawyer calmly presented the evidence, the bank statements, the receipts, the deed. She cross-referenced his company-paid travel with hotel stays with his mistress, proving he was also defrauding his firm. Confronted with irrefutable proof, his charisma crumbled. He was exposed for what he was: a cheap, common thief. When his business partners were forced to see the evidence, they demanded his resignation. He lost his job, his title, his 6-figure income in a single afternoon. The life he'd built with my family's future evaporated. The court's judgment was my vindication. Because the evidence of financial fraud was so undeniable, and I know that legal outcomes can vary by jurisdiction, but in my case, it was a slam dunk. The asset division was heavily in my favor. I was awarded the marital home, free and clear. I received a large portion of his retirement accounts to offset the money he had stolen. The secret condo was ordered to be sold to pay off the fraudulent credit line. He was left with his personal debt, a ruined career, and a support order based on the income he used to have. He didn't just lose his money, he lost his image. The story became public record, and the whispers started. His world shrank to just him and his miserable choices. The ultimate humiliation for a narcissist isn't being hated, it's being seen as a failure and then being ignored. And me? My revenge wasn't watching him fall. It was in not watching at all. While he was drowning, I was learning to breathe again. I sold that big empty house and bought a smaller, brighter home for me and the kids. I went back to work, starting my own small financial consulting firm for women navigating divorce. I found a strength I never knew I had. My real revenge wasn't a single act. It was the process of rediscovering my own worth. The greatest victory wasn't the court judgment. It was the moment I realized I hadn't thought about him for an entire day. It was the first time I had a real deep belly laugh and felt nothing but joy. He's a ghost in my past. I hear things sometimes that he struggles financially, that the other woman left him when the money ran out. It barely registers. His drama isn't my problem anymore. He thought his betrayal was the end of my story. He was wrong. It was the beginning. My revenge was simple. I chose to live, I chose to thrive, and I did it without him. If my story hits home for you, if you've ever felt that sting of betrayal or the weight of manipulation, please know you aren't alone, and you are not broken. Your strength is waiting for you on the other side of this pain. If you feel comfortable, I'd be honored if you shared a piece of your own story of reclaiming your power in the comments below. And if this is a story someone you know needs to hear, please share it. Rebuilding your life after this isn't just about surviving, it's a rebirth. It's realizing that the best revenge isn't sinking to their level, but rising so far above it that they can't touch you anymore. It's about finding a peace so profound their chaos can't penetrate it. Living your best life, full of authenticity and self-respect, that is the one thing they can never take from you. And living it is the greatest victory of all.